He's with us. He's here, baby. I can feel him.
Hello and welcome to the fifth annual Jordan Maxwell Memoriam. I'm occult priestess Corinne Wilson.
I am
This is
Micah
Micah
Dank,
Dank.
astrotheologist.
I'm Kriston T. Harris, investigative journalist and researcher.
And I'm Truth Seeker, esoteric, spiritual, rapper, author, husband. Yeah, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And we've already got some chatters in the various chats. We are multi-platformed tonight. So our newcomer this year is Kriston. Would you like to introduce yourself first, what you do, who you are? Why are you here?
Well, first of all, thank you to Micah Dank for inviting me, and it was great to meet all you guys. I really appreciate that, Corinne and Trusika. I think it's a great privilege to be here to remember one of the greats. It's been 4 years since he passed. My name is Kriston T. Harris. I'm an investigative journalist. I guess my cool factor is I was a key reporter in the Kyle Rittenhouse. My video was used to exonerate him. And I was a key reporter in the Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein trial, doing work for the BBC, amongst other things. But throughout my life, somebody I've gotten to meet and become friends with later on in his life, his last several years, is when we kind of became close. And that's Russell Pine, who's also, his pen name is Jordan Maxwell, Jordan, the River of Life, and Maxwell, obviously the Maximus, most abundant amount of life. So Jordan lived it to his fullest, and he found a lot of interest in education. At one point, I tried to introduce him to my friend G. Edward Griffin because they're about the same age. And I was like, G. Edward Griffin, I was like, have you ever met Jordan Maxwell? He's like, no, but I'd like to. And if you don't know who G. Edward Griffin is, he wrote a book called The Creature from Jekyll Island. And it's really great that we can all be here. So that's kind of who I am. And I appreciate you guys giving me a shot here to talk a little bit about Jordan. So
everybody give him a hand, little applause there, newcomer. Yay. But he's been around a while, as you've heard. That's awesome. We were just talking about Freeman Fly and how he's already met Freeman. So that's really great. And so it has it been 4 years since he's passed? Because this is literally our fifth.
This is the 5th year that we did it because we had year 0. We did it the day after he passed, and then 4 years, later. So this is technically 4 years, but it's the 5th show.
Okay, here we go. Johnny's got a comment here. Do you want to read that out for us, Danka?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Discovered Jordan over 30 years ago. Wow. And my synapses have never connected properly since as Maxwell fried them to a crispy cosmic goo. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we can all relate.
That's pretty much. Yeah. Wow.
Well,
that's,
I made a couple
30 years
for tonight. Okay. Micah, why don't you go ahead and tell us who you are for newcomers, and you also, Trusika?
Right. So I am an astrotheologist because of because of Jordan. The first video I ever saw of Jordan was a video where he was talking about how everything ties back to Saturn. And then in that video, towards the end of it, after just frying my brain, that's my stepdaughter, Anna. Hi, sweetheart. Well, it's my wife, but my stepdaughter's typing on her phone. It's so cute. At the end of his video, in this one particular lecture that he gave, he was talking about how they were asking Jesus where they're going to meet him, and where the disciples were for Passover or whatever. He says, go into town, you'll see a man holding a water pitcher. And then Jordan goes on to explain that men never carried water. That was a very female job. And whether people like it or not to hear it today, gendered roles did exist for all of humankind. And so he was like, well, that's basically Aquarius. And that got my mind started to roll. And then I started watching some of his more astrotheology videos. I have them right here. Hold on. My wife reorganized the bookshelf, but I could find what I have. That Old Time Religion book, Matrix of Power. And if you read his books, the way it is basically like this. There's no pictures, and it's not really formatted. Basically, it's just like start writing and then to the end. It's like stream of consciousness, basically, for him. So I started reading these, and then I started watching more of his videos, and I was like, this is absolutely incredible. This makes me so happy to, if I felt like I don't know if you guys have ever had this feeling before, but I felt like I wasn't learning something new. I feel like I was remembering something I forgot.
Yeah.
And I just love the man to death. And then what basically happened, so everybody in this panel has special value to me. Truth, in the bottom left, had always mentioned to me that he wanted to go on Coast to Coast. And I actually have a connection to Coast to Coast. And I was like, yeah, no problem. So I got him connected. And he was like, is there anything that you want? I'm so grateful. I was like, I want to meet Jordan Maxwell. So he was like, all right. And then he texted me. He said, if I text you and I say, pick up your phone, I don't care when it is, pick up your phone. Lo and behold, a few months later, I'm sitting on the couch. It's like 8 o'clock at night. He introduces me to Jordan. And then me and Jordan developed a friendship. And when you get to become friends with your teachers, it's an unbelievable feeling. And I figured out what I was supposed to do with my life. So, Johnny Ray Wright says, watched the interview with Santos. Great. And seeing this immediately, knew I had to be there. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Johnny. I knew what I was supposed to do, so I started doing work on my own with astrotheology. And you got to read a lot. But I started reading a lot. And then I reached out to Occult Priestess. I went on her show. I went on Truth Seeker's show. And then Kristan, the same thing happened. I just reached out to him. Oh, Brian's here. Okay. And I reached out to Kristan, and I helped him with that. So basically, I'm just anybody that knows Jordan can basically ask me for anything in the world.
Ta-da! Truth Seeker.
Yeah. So I do spiritual and esoteric hip hop. I'm the host of the Truth Seeker podcast, and I had the privilege of interviewing Jordan Maxwell like straight out the gate. Like I started a podcast from listening to like hours and hours of Project Camelot, Coast to Coast AM, and all these interviews, and I had questions. So I'm like taking notes, and I was thinking like, wouldn't it be really cool to be able to interview these people? Because sometimes the host would take it just so far, and they wouldn't pry on these encounters or these sightings or these subjects. I was like, man, I got questions after listening to these episodes. So listening to tons of Jordan Maxwell's research, I just sent him an email and said, hey, I'm starting a podcast. I'm official, and I'd love to interview you if you're available. And he gave me his phone number and told me to call him. And so I thought that was crazy. I thought like it would be impossible to get a hold of him or something. And we just started talking over the phone, and he would pretty much do his lectures and kind of almost like disciple us in a way. And I called my friends on three-way, and we'd listen to Jordan, because he wouldn't let you talk much. Anybody knows Jordan. He'll just go. But if you listen, like he's just giving you like just gem after gem after gem. And so we would do that daily. We'd call and just jump on three-way with Jordan. This was back in like 2010, 2011. And we just got to be friends in that way. And I looked at him as a mentor, or like being, somebody in the church where I come from. Is like I would try to have meetings with my pastors and stuff because I had questions or problems. And I had to schedule something like 2 weeks out to talk to the pastor. And then I just had like this guy who I looked up to as being this really big inspiration for me, ready to take my phone call like at any moment. And that just blew my mind of like just his integrity that he brought to the table, and willing to allow me and others to ask him really hard questions. And sometimes he didn't have the patience, he just kind of told you like it was, but he had this way of offending you, it seemed like, or just your beliefs. But it's up for the seeker to be the one who comes of your own free will. And so those are my early memories of Jordan. We jumped on the podcast 2011 or so, and it was the worst podcast. I was just getting started, stuttering. I'm all over the place, and I hate hearing myself on those early days. The connections were bad or whatever, but Jordan just, you just ask him a question and just let it go. He does what he does, and so I'm just super honored to be able to know him. And he promoted my music early on. That was mind blowing. He co-signed my first esoteric spiritual album. Then he wrote the foreword to my book, Spirit Realm. These things, they leave a impression on you, and so I just want to be able to do the same for others and carry on his work and say his name as much as I can.
That's beautiful. So let's go on to Kristan, and then we'll go to Brian.
Kristan?
How do you know Jordan? What's up with all that?
Oh, well, it's an interesting story. I think when I first started doing podcasting and live streaming in 2008, it was a little weird because we didn't have Facebook Live and we didn't have YouTube Live. And so a bunch of us would get together on Skype and we started calling the show The Rundown Live. And we wanted to get Jordan on. So we started emailing him in about 2010, 2011. And we just couldn't get a hold of him. One of our program producers at the time, Chris Gio, did a broadcast called Truth Frequency Radio. It was a network. It was kind of like on iHeartRadio, it was digital broadcast. It was vintage because it was kind of like internet radio before internet radio. It was pretty cool. And we just couldn't get a hold of Jordan. And so finally, I started messaging him on Skype. I got his contact from Bruce Fenton, who actually did a book with Jordan Maxwell called The Language of Symbols, which I was included in some of the research on transhumanism, symbolism. And
where can we find that book?
You can find it on Amazon. Actually, I dropped a link in our private chat if you guys want to share that book. Bruce Fenton and Jordan Maxwell is the last piece of artwork. Very interesting. And just about most of Jordan Maxwell's slides and information is also included, including some of his own personal notes. And it kind of went under the radar because at the time it was like right before he passed away. It was great information. Bruce introduced me, gave me a Skype. So I sent Jordan a Skype a couple of times. We started talking back and forth. We Skyped a few times. And then I'm like, Jordan, like, would you like to do an interview? And I think at that point he felt like he was done. Like he did his last show. And I'm like, Jordan, you still got life to give. You got, information. I was asking him, I wanted to get some information, have him on the show, be able to ask him some questions on air for our listeners so they can experience Jordan Maxwell. And just one day out of the blue, he calls me on my cell phone and he's like, I want to do this. Can we do this today? And I said, yeah. And then he gave me the spiel like you guys probably all got before. This is a story you won't hear anywhere else. He's going to blow the listeners' minds. And then he starts getting into the spiel about etymology and banking and, the where the words come from, understanding and everything else. And I'm like, Jordan, this is amazing. Let's go. So I got him to do an interview with me. And then along the way, I had an opportunity. I met somebody called Leo Zagami who joined us before the show. It was sent. He wrote a book called The Confessions of an Illuminati. He's a former OTO leader of Satanism, and he
That's
also
Leo Zagami, guys.
Yeah,
talking about.
Yeah, and he wrote we had an interest in symbolism, and I asked him a lot about mystery religion because there's a lot that's wrong with the Vatican. He's the Vatican expert on occultism. I don't know if there's anyone that is as good as Leo Zagami's understanding it, but he was born into the Italian family of the Illuminati. And if you don't know, in the 1700s, the Bavarian Illuminati had lodges in Italy. In fact, it was the bloodletting organization, the mob and mafia that came out of the Illuminati lodges. And you can look that up. That's also written in a book called Eliminate the Opiate by Rabbi Marvin Antelman. And they talk about this because they try to overthrow the Vatican or get rid of the Vatican at one point. And, so he came from that bloodline. And so he rebuked it all. He changed his life. And now he's a born-again Christian. He's still a 33rd degree Mason. And I was like, okay, I'll come out and visit you. I'll be out there for Contact in the Desert. I was going to be pressed for that.
Out in Los Angeles.
I met Leo Zagami, and then we went and looked at some really bizarre art, which was barcode babies. There's videos of it out there. They had an art display where there's a bunch of babies crawling on the walls of buildings, and they had barcodes as their head. and that's what they were like. It was like in the same museum where there's Mariana Abramovich paintings. So Leo showed me that, and then he kind of interviewed me before I could meet Jordan. Like this was like then to make sure I wasn't a weirdo or wacko or anything like that. So he went and had margaritas, and he introduced me to Brian and Jordan Maxwell. We had wings, and it was a great night. It was an epic night. And much like you, I'm sure Jordan asked you all similar questions. He said, why did Manly P. Hall leave me with 150 of his handwritten books in his will? And I'm sure we all had different answers to that. But that's how I met Jordan, and we were close friends till the very end. We talked a lot online on Skype and different platforms.
So can I ask you a question? Is it Marina Abramovich, or how do you say her name? Do you know?
I thought it was Mariana Abramovich.
Sorry.
But I think there's a role in it. That's Mariana Abramovich, but I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure that's how it's pronounced.
You probably have to ask.
It's not my thing.
So that's the artist that did Aleister Crowley's Spirit Cooking, basically, with the cakes of light and that kind of thing. And
yes.
She's coming back around because the Podesta emails are coming back around. So I think it's all really interesting with the Epstein files. And I think, Brian, you're next to tell us why you're joining us this evening.
Hey, guys. Yeah, well, thanks for having me. And Micah, thanks again for putting this together. I know Jordan would be grateful, just being honored, and, definitely have to do more of these. And especially when we get into some of our other projects where we have like a physical location, and we'd like to do more, of honoring of his life and his legacy. But so I would, I guess paint a picture of how we met. I'm 42. I met Jordan when I was 18, and I was introduced to his work from and my apologies if there's background noise. I'm on the road, and there's no way I can get to somewhere right now to where it's quiet. But
you sound pretty good.
Okay, good. I'm glad. And so there was this little panini shop in LA in Sherman Oaks. I used to talk to this gentleman and his family for hours at a time on like my lunch break. And one day he just handed me a little CD that had all Jordan's recordings on it from, Coast to Coast Radio, like a lot of, Art Bell stuff, and all like the oldies, like the greats. And I just listened to it forever. And I was like, man, I really got to meet this guy. And then come to find out, Jordan was right down the street from me. He was like literally 10 minutes away. And he had a conference going on. So I went to go see him. And I didn't really get to connect with him at that time because a lot of people were crowding him, and I just didn't want to bug him. And then I bought a bunch of his works, and they went to drop it off to me in person because they were in the Valley. And then here he comes walking in right after him, and I was at a Starbucks. And then, we just sat there for hours and talked. And like you guys said, that's how Jordan was. Like if somebody was willing to listen, and he can tell that, they have a half a brain and they have some sense, he'll talk and for 8 hours straight to you, and if you had any questions, he loved helping people make sense of the world around him, and if they were interested. So, and then, and ever since then, we became best friends. And shortly after, I would say maybe 6 months after that, he came to live with me. And he lived with me for probably about 6 or 7 years. And then on and off for the 20 some years we knew each other, he lived with me for maybe about, I don't know, 8 or 9 years of those. So I was very blessed and grateful to have those years with him, to, just imagine living with him, every single day, where it's like, I have a question, I have him there. Jordan, what do you think of this? Jordan, what do you think of that? And he was just like, he is the most influential and favorite person in my life by far. And just, I love him so much. And I'm so grateful because he helped me make sense of a lot of things that.
Oh, no.
Oh,
okay. You're back. Oh, now he's muted. You're still muted. No, we can't hear you now. What a beautiful story.
I'm glad he helped you make sense of things, because I still don't, none of this makes sense to me still to this day.
If you can still hear me,
He's gonna
leave
come back in the room.
come back
Before we
in.
start, so while he's out, when he's about to come in, my stepdaughter wants a shout out. So Anna, my 10-year-old stepdaughter, who is watching this right now, when she's a little bit older, I'm going to introduce her to all this stuff. I'm going to teach her my astrotheology. She's such a young, sweet girl. She's opening her mind up to everything. She's already got some skills in the esoteric world, and it's been beautiful being her stepdad. So, Brian, if you can kindly continue.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know why it kicks me off when a phone call comes in on my phone. So I'd rather be on my computer. So apologies for that. But what I was saying, like Truth Seeker was saying, he painted a picture for everybody of like inherently a lot of things we felt that we knew, and it was like it was in our DNA, and we had these questions that just felt like we couldn't put our thumb on, and that's what Jordan did. He was able to boil things down. He was like I heard somebody the other day say, which made it was actually a perfect snapshot of Jordan. He was the last greatest historian. Like Jordan was able to boil down Manly P. Hall's work, because Manly P. Hall's works, I would say he's the greatest philosopher of our time, most likely, when people are able to digest what he was, trying to convey. But it was so dense, and you have to have a deep understanding of so many subjects to really follow what he's saying in a lot of his talks. But Jordan had a way of boiling it down to where it was easy for, that 18-year-old that's just curious going, something's wrong. This doesn't make sense. And then you listen to him and you're like, oh, that's exactly what I thought was going on kind of in my head. I just didn't know how to articulate that. And that was Jordan's art form, I think, as a great lecturer and teacher, was just being able to get it out in an elementary way. So, yeah. So, yeah, ever since that, we were, great friends, like I said, living with me. And then towards the end of his life, he came to live with me for about the last 8 or 9 months or so. And I was so grateful that he came out at that time. And, he was in pretty rough shape, but we were able to get him, back where he could barely walk. And then he was able to walk again. And that's when we met out in Laughlin that one time. And it ended up working out good, where he was just like, he got his energy back and he was feeling better. And it was kind of hard for him to do long interviews and be, very articulate because of these mini strokes. But he did what he loved, and I just said, Jordan, I said, for the rest of your life, however long you're here, I said, I'll take care of you, and whatever you want to do, what do you want to do? Because you got to take it easy, obviously. I said, don't worry about anything other than what you want to do. He's like, just get me on the radio. I'm like, okay. So I would just call around and, hey, anybody, if you want him on, I said, you just gotta take it easy and lead him through. And if he stumbles at all because he's had some strokes, just help him out. And everybody was very graceful and very, very nice about that, and did a great job. So, and then he got to do what he did, and then we co-founded an order with Jordan. It was inspired by Leo Zagami, because we wanted to create an institution that lasted past him. And, it took some years to kind of put it together and make sure that it was ready to release to the world and what we were going to do. And we're still kind of working on that. We're almost there. But that was kind of the last piece of the puzzle. And if there's any questions, you guys have about him, or you need any insight, I'm here for you guys.
Amazing.
Brian, thank you. Corinne, Priestess, it's on you. Final story.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I would like to reiterate that you might be seeing things in my chat or in Michael Dank's chat that aren't congruent. It's because we have a chat here, a window in StreamYard. And so the comments go to everyone on all the channels. So I hope that makes sense. I'm Corinne Wilson, occultpriestess.com.
Yeah, so you're going to see Micah Dank's truth bombs and the cold priestess things.
It's all good. professional psychic for over 30 years. I'm a soul counselor. So if you need any help in that regard, call priestess.com. I met Jordan. Well, first, I heard Jordan on Coast to Coast AM, which even as a young girl, I listened to. One of the first places it was syndicated was Cincinnati, Ohio. And so I knew him from when I was really little, but then I got to meet him out in LA 2016, 2017. And I would go to the Conscious Life Expo and different gatherings out there. And he was always at them pretty much. So I always saw them and grabbed him and took pictures with him and talked to him when I saw him out there. And you could tell his health wasn't great even then. And that's why I would hug him for so long and just try to give him the love that I know all of us would give him. And I think that's so sweet that Brian actually took care of him for so many years. I mean, wow, we owe you a great debt. He wouldn't have been here as long as he was, I believe, if it weren't for your love. So that's a big deal.
Yeah, it was a very humbling experience too to take care of an elderly person. It was the first time I ever did, because I still had my grandparents were here, and then my grandmother actually passed away shortly after too. I had to take care of her after. So yeah, it was a very, very humbling experience, but it was an honor to do it. Yeah, and to see him go from the Jordan we all know into he always still had a sense of humor too. Even when he was at the hospital, man, he always had the nurses laughing, the doctors laughing, everybody loved him. And until the day he passed, he always had a great sense of humor. So yeah,
it's great to hear.
Mm-hmm.
He was a very much unique individual.
I just want to add one thing before Priest. No, I just wanted to add one quick thing, Priestess, before you continue. How we got Brian on to do these is because one day after he passed, like a year after Jordan passed, maybe a year and a half after Jordan passed, I was missing him. And I called his cell phone just to see if he had like an answering machine or something. I just wanted to hear his voice or something. And Brian picked up the phone. Brian kept his phone number active. And me and Brian started talking, and then I invited him on here. Makes me happy you guys keep this going. Yeah, it's growing every year, guys. So I'm sorry, Priestess. I just wanted to share that. Everybody here is just such a humble, loving, charismatic, caring person. And I just love doing this once a year. I mean, it's sad, but I really do love doing this once a year. So, Priestess, please continue.
Oh, well, that was pretty much what I had to say. I did find... So I'm not going to talk about that tonight, but I have some videos that I've made this evening, and hopefully they will help our talking points as well. And I believe we will be shutting out the show when we're done with a musical composition by our friend Truth Seeker. So looking forward to that. And we just want to say hi to everyone in all the chats, and we'll be bringing up your comments as the night moves forward. And I'm so glad that we have this wonderful group of gentlemen here.
I want to start.
What?
I saw a comment before that I don't want to let go. I don't know who wants to field this, but we got a comment here from Marie. Didn't someone steal his website or something? Can one of you guys speak on that, on why he went from jordanmaxwell.com to Jordan Maxwell Show? Or can we address this real quick just so everybody understands how he was under attack, basically?
Yeah.
I'm sure Brian heard that.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I got a call again. I just want to make sure. Yeah, so long story short, there was a family that went to help Jordan at one point, and this was right around the time that I met him. So it was like 20-some years ago. And they wanted to help him get a website going and get a little bit more structured business-wise. And the deal that they made, their contract, if I remember correctly, it was something along the lines of essentially Jordan, I think he must have not read a certain portion of it. And what's surprising to me and what I get from every time I have this conversation is Jordan was so hip and the one that brought contract law and all the UCC stuff to light, right? and had all the best minds. But when it came to him making his contracts, he was like the stereotypical artist. You know, it's like he didn't have a manager, he didn't have anybody, any business people around him, and he didn't really have a lawyer look over it before he did it. And he missed this one little piece where it was like, you know, he signed over all his past, present, and future rights to his name and likeness for like dollars. I mean, it was like, I don't know, $100 or something like that.
$1.
Yeah, or $1. Yeah. And so these guys, after Jordan didn't end up liking how they operated, he wanted to go their separate ways. And this was like maybe a few months in, 6 months in or so. And these guys decided to then say, well, you know, you promised us this and that. And, you know, and this was the Dolezal family. Coincidentally, they live right down the street from me. I went to their house actually a few times knocking on their door, and I kind of laid into them one time. It was pretty funny. That's another story. But that was after Jordan passed, because Jordan won the lawsuit. It took him about 10 years to go through it all. And then the judge said, you know, hey, go recoup some of your money, because these guys said that they were operating at a loss for 10 years, right? Just completely lying and cooking the books, just thieves, liars, charlatans, you know, wanted to be Jordan, just, you know, just the worst people that you can deal with in business. And so the judge ordered them, okay, whatever, just recoup some of your money, which Jordan agreed to, just to get him out of his hair, and then sign over the rights to the intellectual property and the website back to Jordan. Well, they didn't meet any of the guidelines of what the judge gave to them, and so nothing ever happened. And so I had to hire an attorney and get them going, but then they're not responding, and then I have to go after them. It's a long, you know, drawn out process. Like everybody says, once you get into court, you lose. So that's what ended up happening. And so I ended up going to their house saying, hey, you know, no one's responding. I left a letter, came back again. And then I seen one of the brothers one day, and he came out, and first thing he said, like, hey, you know, I'm Brian Becchio. I left a letter here last time. You know, you and your family are not responding to the attorneys and what the judge ordered you guys to do. And he's like, you ruined my life and blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, ruined your life? I was like, I don't even know you. I said, first of all, the first day we met each other, I said, and let's just deal with things legally. And he starts going off on me. And so I knew that he wasn't going to play, you know, nicely. And he was just acting like he was a victim of Jordan for some reason. And it was just completely insane. So I just started going to things to irritate him. He's a big boy too, and I tried to incite him to hit me so I can beat him up, pretty much. And he wouldn't do it. You know, I was talking crap about his whole family, and you know, I was being an asshole. You know, and excuse my language, but I was really, because I was so pissed at just the way they treated Jordan. And he didn't end up doing anything. He ended up filming me. So right when he took out his phone, he was like, oh, I'm going to film you, get off my property. And he was like, I'm like, hey, guys. I was like, this is the family, the Dolezals, who screwed over Jordan. You know, and then I just started going into this whole monologue. And he's like, oh, come on. And then he stopped filming me. You know, I'm like, yeah, go share that with the world, you asshole. So, yeah, it was an interesting thing. So, yeah, those guys are clowns. That whole Dolezal family, they're a piece of work, you know. They steal everything from Jordan, don't give him any money. They're only dealt with each other for a couple months, and then they utilize his intellectual property to make money for 10 plus years, and then say that they're at a loss, you know. And on top of that, Jordan actually owes them money, right? Yeah. So
What a wild story, dude.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other details in there that I want to share publicly, but yeah, that's
Hey,
the
Brian,
gist of it.
question we all kind of had is, do you think that the Manly P. Hall books that got burnt up in a fire, if that was done intentionally, or do you think that was just coincidence?
I mean, it most likely a coincidence. I mean, but I mean, the only thing that was weird about it is that there was one area in the warehouse out of that whole entire port that caught on fire, and that was really just his and like one other person's area. So, I mean, it's very bizarre, but I don't know. I mean, once you get into the esoteric nature of, spirituality and knowing how you're protected in certain areas, and once you go outside of there and, maybe it's kind of open game, on material and things, maybe that where they targeted it and wanted to burn it, because there was a lot, as Manly P. Hall's place. Everybody that I know that went there in the 80s and 90s and 2000s all say that it's been taken over by Luciferians. Very dark stuff lately. They always talk about the dark arts now. It's not about like, every subject. It always seems like they're kind of centered around that, which, is very aggravating to a lot of us. So, when Manly P. Hall's works, I mean, who knows what they did with his other works? Because that was really the only copy else that was out that Jordan had. So it was, it was a really sad loss.
Wow.
You kind of see
Okay.
something similar
Let's see if we have
happening in Manly P.
any other
Hall's life as well,
comments.
with his work and having to be led around by somebody else who took advantage of him, holding him hostage and captive, and his property and stuff. The same stuff goes on with Manly.
Mm-hmm.
And I know somebody personally who paid JordanMaxwell.com $400 for an interview with Jordan. And I told them they were crazy. I was like, I can get you an interview with Jordan for free. He doesn't charge, bro. Just like, why did you pay it? He's like, I went to the website and they said I had to pay. And they never gave him the interview, and he gave them the $400.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to hear something funny? Is that there's a gentleman that runs JordanMaxwellVideos.com. And Jordan, after he was at my house in about 2018, I think, and then he left to Vegas for a little bit, and he did this joint venture with this gentleman where he created one video, and it might have been like two videos, and then he ended up going his separate way again, saying, "Hey, I don't like dealing business with this guy and how he operates." He kept on going, right? And then when Jordan went to live with me again, he asked me to try to go clean up his business affairs. And so I sent him, hey, pretty much a cease and desist, saying Jordan doesn't want, to be in business with you anymore. Please, take down, anything related to his intellectual property, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He didn't end up responding until Jordan passed away. And then he responded with a buyout agreement of like, I don't know, he was going to give me $1,000 to get the rights to utilize everything. And then so he wants that. And then he gave me the breakdown. He did the same thing that the Dolezals did, where he's making, I think it was like $130,000 a year off of two videos that he had on JordanMaxwellVideos.com, right? And then he said that he was running at a loss because he spent $90,000 on marketing and then all this on this, so he's operating at a loss again. Again, another one of these scumbags. I'm like, who operates a business for 5 to 10 years at a loss? Why would you do that? Because I know you're cooking the books. Any judge or any person with any sense to them knows that they're cooking the books. So that's another one of them. That guy is just and then after Jordan passed away, he started putting on now all of Jordan's works that's on jordanmaxwell.com on his website too. So, but I can't do anything right now because I need the judge to enforce the judgment that I have to get the website and the intellectual property back in my name. So there's nothing I can do at this moment. But once I do, then yeah, I mean, it'll all be shut down. So.
And Jordan Maxwell Research Society is still going, right, Brian? I see that the website is still up. And that's if anyone wants to get an idea of what Jordan read, his books, and all of that, you can join the Jordan Maxwell Research Society. And that's jordanmaxwellresearch.is. And I know I joined many, many years ago, and I bought most of the books that were on there. It took me a long time to collect them all, but when you start reading them, you start having an understanding of where Jordan was coming from philosophically and knowledge-wise. Is very good investment. So check out that website, guys.
Yeah, it's that one, and Jordan Maxwell Show is in our possession. Yeah.
So we had a question.
So we have a comment here from Johnny.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Who was producer and operator of the media platform that utilized the rights purportedly granted stolen from Jordan?
It was Joseph Dolezal for JordanMaxwell.com and the Dolezal family. And then for the JordanMaxwellVideos.com is a guy named, I would have to look up his information. I don't have that offhand. I try to forget about people like that, to be honest.
And
This
shout
isn't
out
the
to
this
Brian
isn't the
Grant.
Dolezal family, like Rachel Dolezal, right? The white girl that think.
I'm not sure if they have a sister. I just know the brothers and the dad. But Joseph Dolezal was speaking. He had a retreat center in
Because
San
they're
Bernardino.
from that area.
Okay.
I think he's in some old videos with them too. Some old videos of them out in
So-
the desert and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the
Brian, I
Dolezals
have
are
a question for
watching,
you.
go release that video so everybody can see me screaming at you.
Yeah. You know what? Steal this video too and put it up. Take our live
Yeah.
stream, put it up there.
There you go. There you go.
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, we have an archive now.
What I was going to ask you was exactly a comment that Jordan has made in the past. Now, I'm not sure how the guy he talked about responds to it, if he's ever responded to it, but Jordan claims to be the one that introduced the West to David Icke. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah. I mean, Jordan brought out David Icke and sponsored him to come out to America and start with like the whole circuit of speaking and lecturing. But I mean, he just saw talent in David Icke and wanted to bring him to the States, and he got him connected to America's who's who in the the speaking circuits. And back in the day, I think the company might have been Truth Seekers. What Jordan worked for. He was that it was it, right, Kristen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no connection to me, but it was True Seeker
Yeah.
magazine.
Yeah, exactly. So True Seeker or Seekers sponsored David Icke to come out. They had a budget that Jordan had access to, and then he brought him out. And then they had something happen with David Icke's girlfriend at the time, and something weird happened, and they were trying to push Jordan out of a deal, and then that's when they separated. So when you see Jordan kind of like a little bitter about David and them, is because of how they acted. They weren't really appreciative or respectful of the relationships. But overall, I mean, he still.
No.
Come on, Brian.
Oh, you got a phone call.
Is your audio?
Yeah.
Oh, there, you good?
Mr.
Yeah.
Hopkins.
Now I know next time that I got to be at home on my laptop or bring my laptop with me. Sorry about that.
I did an interview where I asked, because I heard the same thing, I think from Michael Tessarian, about him seeing talent in Michael Tessarian and kind of helping him get started early on. Did you have any run-ins with him or know anything about that relationship?
Yeah. They were close for a while, from what I remember. That was a long time ago. I mean, I was young. Yeah, I was like 20-some years ago. Yeah. Yeah, Jordan, I mean, just imagine living with Jordan. I mean, we had meetings like, when Kristen came over the house, we used to have monthly meetings of just all people from all over the world that would come in. And so you name it, I mean, we just have the most bizarre discussions, and people that, they're not out there speaking publicly. They don't have a podcast. They haven't published a book. But yeah, they're really, just whistleblowers of families, organizations, all types of things. So yeah, it was a.
Did you ever see, I'm sure you have, the image that everybody uses in like their expose of Jordan Maxwell, Sammy Davis Jr., and I think Anton LaVey or something, where they try to say it was Jordan. Have you ever seen that meme and picture?
No.
It has anybody?
Truth, find it and share it. Can you find it and share it real quick?
Yeah, because it wasn't Jordan Maxwell. He looks like him, but
they're saying
Jordan
that was him.
Yeah, like everybody uses it saying
Okay.
Jordan Maxwell is connected to the Church of Satan, along with known Satanist Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll have to share it. Yeah, you guys haven't seen
Yeah,
it?
it's very hard to not. I mean, I get that all the time with Jordan, and especially when we started being a little bit active in some of our campaigns that we were doing, like when Agenda 2030 was in full swing. We had a campaign going on where everybody thought we were CIA agents. You know what I mean? And I'm like, and it was very difficult. But Jordan, just imagine Jordan. I mean, that was a little bit of work that I did in the public. And I could only imagine what the conspiracies going around Jordan were.
I've got it here. I'm gonna try to see about sharing the image or something.
The one thing that I will say that, you know, how Jordan was able to access a lot of this information was he was around a lot of these guys. Like the world's leading Zionist, I shared in our group a little bit ago with what's Kristen is in, was Dr. Harold Shire. If you look him up, he was like a federal prosecutor in like what the 50s and 60s, I think, maybe even a little bit earlier than that. And he just grew to be a really big political figure. And he put what I remember Jordan talking about all the time, and other people that knew him, is that he advised all the presidents. He put Netanyahu in power, unfortunately. And Jordan would get all this information from him, and he was the biggest lodge in LA for like leading Zionists is the Ionic Composite Lodge on La Brea. I think it's La Brea and Pico, and La Cienega and Pico. If you look that up, there's a lot of really powerful Zionists there, and Jordan used to go there and talk to him. But Jordan used to give him information about religion and any questions that he had, and then in return, this gentleman would share with him the inner workings of how these guys worked, like how their businesses worked, how they controlled all the industries of the world, how they operated under the UCC contract law stuff. And Jordan, they allowed him to just share it all, you know? So yeah, he was around these people. Jordan didn't like talking about it when he was alive. And I know if now that he's gone, we talked about it a few times. He doesn't mind us talking about it after the fact because he didn't want people to get a bad image of him or think of him a certain way. Oh, there you go. That does kind of actually look like Jordan a little bit.
I can see that.
Yeah, I could too. It's not. It's got the guy's name on there.
It does.
It does. It does resemble him for sure.
I thought Sammy Davis Jr. only had one eye.
Did he?
Well, I'm not sure.
Yeah. And he was Jewish. Sammy converted to Judaism, and Anton LaVey was Jewish.
I love what was Anton LaVey's last words before he passed?
Is that real?
Okay,
no, I think that's a rumor. I was wrong.
Okay,
I think that's a rumor.
What is it?
I think it's a rumor. It's too perfect.
Is it? Yeah.
Anton
LaVey's
last words supposedly.
I can confirm this or not. I actually know Eric Freeman. He holds the Anton LaVey and Aleister Crowley estate, and I can just shoot him a message and ask him if that's real or not.
Mm-hmm. What did he supposedly say?
Yeah. Can you do that?
Yeah.
That's what I heard too as well, Micah.
I was wrong.
Yep.
I was wrong.
That's exactly what I heard.
Yeah, that was made popular, I think, by Heidi.
And then his daughter grew up to be
the Christian evangelist. They kind of took that story and ran with it, and the Christians took it and said that on his deathbed he converted and said he was wrong and gave his life to Jesus, which upon further investigation they said was wrong. I interviewed Bob Larson, which was actually close with LaVey and a bunch of those guys, and Zena, and he said it was a lie too. So,
do we know why Zena looks so much like Taylor Swift?
Do you guys?
Because it's her.
I was just going to bring that up. That Zena grew up to be Taylor Swift.
It's a cool conspiracy theory.
It is.
But, but there's pictures of Zena LaVey right now, like today, and or maybe that's what they want us to think.
Brian, can I ask you one personal question, just for you? For you knowing him so well, just so well, I want to ask you a little bit of a personal question, okay? Because I want to try and get to the mindset of this. What was it about Jordan or Jordan's personality that so many people manipulated and took advantage of him? What was it about him?
I I wouldn't say that it was so many people, but I mean, if you think about it, I mean, you rack it up, there might have been like 4 or 5 influential people in his life that had that type of impact. But outside of that, I
Mm-hmm.
would say he had a pretty smooth, you know, life. I mean, towards the end, the last 10 years really affected him a lot. But I would just think Jordan trusted a lot towards the end, that, he had some young energy around him, and he felt like, you know, another maybe thing that just came to mind is that there was a lot of psychics that told him that his work would, or the best of his work would be done at the end of his life. So towards the end, he was just like, I don't get it, like where, I don't know what I'm supposed to do or what offers I'm supposed to take. And, what they always said that, my best work was supposed to be at the end. And so when he passed, I was asking the same thing, and I remember crying. Like at the time, I had some deaths in the family, and I had a breakup, and like just it was the worst. And then like that evening before, and then the morning he was supposed to come home that day, and I just remember just bawling. I was just like, oh man, it was just such a rough day, and it was a rough week, month, and he I tried to think about it, and the only thing that I can come up with, because I'm like, he kept on saying all his life work was going to happen at the end of his life. But I was like, what did we do? Other than he got on some radio shows. But I thought about it with actually Nick, with Kristen knows, and we're like, well, the only thing that came out of it really was that we all came together and we formed an organization together for us to further his work. Because if he wouldn't have came home, or if he wouldn't have came to my place, I don't think he would have got everything in order for me to take over and manage his business and do everything. So it would kind of just been, it would have been splintered out there in the world, and nobody would have had rights to anything or done
Mm-hmm.
anything. So I think that's it. I mean, I think it's just a continuation of his work, and for us to, like, again, stand on the shoulders of giants, with all these guys that really kind of opened up our eyes to the world. And now it's our job to, and at least I feel obligated to do something instead of sitting on the sidelines. So like I said, I get active in things that are providing solutions and tools for humanity to use to actually affect change, instead of, and there's nothing wrong with it, with, all the books that are written and TV shows and movies and, all the talks and lectures. But there's really hardly any organization on the good side, as much as, like, if we were organized as much as the Illuminati, we would be killing it right now. You know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't stand a chance. These guys spend trillions of dollars a year. They spend $150 trillion, the WF, to implement Agenda 2030. And look at where they're getting. It's getting dismantled, and no one's organized. We have no money, and it's getting dismantled all over the place all the time. So just imagine if we were organized and we had money, what we can do. Sky's the limit.
Mm-hmm.
That's very inspiring. Thank you so much, Brian. And you can get a hold of any of us if you ever need volunteers.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, as
Yeah.
things go, we'll just give announcements out and see, who wants to be a part of what, or who's creating what, how can we support. And at the end of the day, I don't try to take like ownership of anything per se. It's just who has the best mousetrap for us to figure out this problem. You know what I mean? That's it.
Yes.
So no ego. I don't care. I don't want to be the face of it. I don't want to have my name on it. I don't care if I'm never mentioned in anything, as long as we're getting the mission accomplished. And that's, really our sovereignty at the end of the day. So,
Well, having your name helps everybody like collect. So it's not an ego thing. It's just
yeah.
tactical, practical.
Yeah. Well, I just see that, like, the main problem with most people is they want the credit, and they want the acknowledgement of what they did. And that's why it, like, stays within a controlled setting, And that's the reason why the people that control the world, they're so successful, is because they're masters at what they do. But on the good side, most people, they don't want credit, and they're not well organized and not well funded, and not, they don't do things very well.
I think it's kind of like what you talked about, like those
Mhm.
people who would show up like at the gatherings and friends of Maxwell who were like not seeking a microphone or looking for a book deal, who had these amazing stories and they're such amazing researchers, but they don't want to be in front of the camera and stuff. Those are the people that you kind of gotta, what I'm saying, lean into,
Yeah.
to be friends with, and to kind of, I think you need those people in your circle versus like everybody around you trying to do what you're trying to do. It usually doesn't work out.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody
That's why
shares
it's such a
space.
small.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Michael.
No, I was going to say that's why it's such a small thing to do, really. But every March 23rd or every March 20th, I send everybody a text message. I'm like, "Are you guys ready in 3 days?" I think this is really cathartic, and this is really important to do this because there's so few people in the world. There you go. There's so few people in the world that you can look at.
Oh, nice. That's a great picture of him,
There's,
too. Yeah, that was my favorite. That's a great
there's so
piece.
few people in the world that just you can tell they don't have an agenda. They just care about people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah,
Those are the best people, right? Those are the most authentic when you don't have an agenda, like you said. You can feel it right away. You come into a room, and me as a businessman, like that's how I think I've been able to be so successful and get in rooms that most people can't. And just like Jordan, everybody talks to him because they know he doesn't really have an agenda. He's not like a lot of these speakers that maybe more articulate than Jordan, or have a better I don't know, piece that they put together. Maybe it was better curated or whatever, the production value. But the reason why these
Billy Carson.
people, yeah, hmm yeah,
you had to say it.
yeah. I mean that. Yeah, look at the budget; it's massive. You look at Gaia. I mean, the budget. I mean, what they're at, like 800 million a year or something like that in revenue, and they still like. Imagine if we had that type of revenue, like man. Yeah, it's just.
I'm so glad that Jordan got to do some of his presentations at that level with Gaia at the end, though. I'm
Yeah,
glad. I know it didn't
yeah,
work out good, but like it was amazing to see his work reach a new audience and then have that top notch,
yeah,
production behind it.
yep, yep. Yeah, but those guys, like everybody else, it's like Jordan, I think, got paid, I don't know, maybe like 50 or 60 grand, but he had to stay out there for.
So we're talking about Jordan Maxwell and when he was under contract with Gaia TV.
He was excited because I remember he announced it on the podcast with me. He was excited, and we were excited.
Oh, yeah. No, it was big. I mean, it was really well done, and I'm glad that he did it. But again, just this starving artist thing, right? Where you got, what, he made 50 or 60 grand, but then he had to pay his own way while he was out there for like a year, right? So all that went to his stay while he was out there, you know? So I'm like, there's no money to be made. It's just, again, and then it's so funny. Sid from Guy, I don't mind. I don't know
I
if you
know
guys don't
Sid.
mind.
I know Sid.
Dude, I know Sid.
Okay.
Well, I hung out with. I met him with you.
Oh yeah. Oh, with me?
Yeah,
Oh, no,
we were
or-
at Contact in the Desert.
No.
Was it me, you, and Leo?
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah.
I would never go to Contact in the Desert.
I was covering it as press, so
Too many aliens.
you're looking at one. No, just kidding.
But yeah, that guy's a piece of work, Sid, who works for Gaia. CYD, he even spells his name really weird.
Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur my whole entire life, and I've run a lot of different types of businesses. And it's funny when I go in, when Jordan went to come live with me the last go around, Jordan had some ideas on the last of his work, and he had this docu-series that he wanted to do, and so I started helping him put it together. And first people he wanted to present it to was Gaia, and he said, "Okay, can you act as my manager and talk to Gaia? Go talk to Sid." So he gets on the phone with Sid, and he's like, "Hey, Sid," and I don't mind putting him on blast because I hate people like this, but
Cheers
Sid,
to that, brother.
yeah,
Cheers.
these snakes, you know what I mean? These gatekeepers got to get put out of the way if they're going to treat people like shit. So, but anyway, Jordan gets on the phone with him and says, "Hey Sid, I really want to, do this docu series." And then so he starts going into it. He's like, "But I'd like for you to talk to Brian." And he's like, "Who's Brian?" He's like, "Oh, he's my good friend, and he's managing my stuff for me." He's like, "Oh, Jordan, well, I don't like talking to managers, Jordan. It's better if me and you just talk, I'm like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's right. And so I talked to him for a second, and I gave it to him, talked to him a little bit about the idea, and then he was like, "Yeah, I don't know if that would really go with the program. It's kind of, it might push, a little button here and there." And I'm like, "Isn't that the idea of this?" You know what I mean? I was like, "It's not like it was like heavy anti-Semitic or anything, but it was like, and but it was like, yeah, so." They lost their way a while ago, and like Johnny says too, there's a bunch of Luciferians in there too now. Was it BlackRock and the portion of it? It's just like, yeah, if you
Well,
don't
you
have,
remember that David Wilcock actually came out and publicly accused Gaia of being Luciferian.
Look what they did
Yeah.
with Timothy.
We did that interview where we called it. You remember that the first interview we
Yes.
did together, Priestess, where I was like, "Listen, David Wilcock is going to leave and he's going to start his own thing, like 100%,
Yes.
totally took
Yeah,
his
that
people."
show that we did, you, me, and Aurora, that
Yeah.
show that we did was so prophetic. It's crazy.
You can
And you
see
can
it.
find it on my channel too. If you guys look up Truth Seeker.
David
You have it
Wilcock
on
came
your
out
channel?
in one of his lectures. David Wilcock came out in one of his lectures and said that Gaia turned him into, quote unquote, a banana sandwich.
I didn't hear that.
Man,
Brian, you
we-
mentioned
Yes.
Johnny Enoch. I just wanted to give you guys a plug that he says that he misses Jordan and that he misses you guys. And essentially, he wanted to say hi. He couldn't be here, though. Johnny Enoch is another person who we all know. And he was, he's right there with you, Brian, where he's like, there's Luciferians in Gaia. He had that issue with some Knights Templars, and he's been very vocal about that. And ever since then, he's been kind of shy of the Masons. So.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, please be shy of the Masons.
yeah, Michael.
When I met Sid, the first thing he wanted to tell
Listen,
me.
hold on. Let me address that, Truth.
He's got
listen,
a mean.
I was a 32nd degree. I wasn't always a truth seeker. I was just an astrotheologist that wanted to share his work with esoteric people, and that's what I thought I was doing when I joined them. So I joined them, I made it to 32, and then I started presenting my work, which is a continuation of Jordan's. You know what they told me, Brian? I got a text message from the chaplain in my lodge, and they took my video down from the Masons YouTube. And they told me that it was too controversial for the lodge, and this is what they also said. They said it was too revealing of the signs. And I said, too revealing of the signs? You guys are fucking gatekeepers. What am I even doing here? So I left, I burnt all my stuff, and I speak out against them now. But that's what I did. I thought I was going to go into a thing where everybody was esoteric. You watch The Lost Symbol and everybody's talking all this stuff, and you're like, oh my God, it's going to be like, it's nothing like that. It's nothing like that. It's just, what it is Masonry is basically Judaism for the goys. That's what it basically is. And I was like, all right, I'll put up with their little, interpretations or whatever. I wanted to teach them. I wanted to go into that. But the second it is, and I left them. I was like, you guys are too revealing of the signs. I was like, oh, so you guys are gatekeepers now. Okay, I want nothing to do with you. And they got mad when I left too.
Yeah.
Good thing you're still
Like
around.
any mob.
Yeah, mob, exactly.
Yeah, that's
So
why I
when I
remember. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brian.
No, I was just going to tell a funny story about my first time seeing him. Well, I'm going into a Masonic lodge with Jordan because I was interested. Like in my early 20s, I was like, maybe I'll just join and, I'll see for myself. And then that way I can, paint my own picture instead of just hearing from what everybody else says. And Jordan was like, yeah, sure. Let's go down to the lodge. And so we went to the Hollywood Lodge in the Valley. And the first guy I sit down with this young kid, very sharp, very articulate, very well spoken, and he starts with he's like, I know who you are, to Jordan, right? He's like, I know who you are. And then he's like, oh, well, good. And then we sat down and he's like, so what brings you in? He's like, oh, my friend here is interested in joining, and we just wanted to come in and like kind of just shoot the shit. And he's like, okay. And then he asked me, like, why are you interested? And I told him my reason. I was like, to explore the ancient, any ancient mysteries and understandings of the world that you might have that I might not be able to get from an outside perspective. And then he said, and then he went on to say this verse, and I can't remember it verbatim, but at the end of it he said, what do you think about that? And I was like, yeah, I said, it's beautifully said. And he's like, that's a verse out of the Satanic Bible. And I'm like, okay. I was like, this is the worst start ever. I was like, this is exactly what I wanted to be away from, And so, and that was my first. And then after that, I was like, yeah, I'm done. I just asked Jordan, I said, why didn't you ever, because Jordan's a first degree Mason. He never became an official Mason, obviously, because you have to be a third degree. But I asked him, I said, why didn't you finish? He was like, it didn't feel right. And I just felt like, it would be a bad thing for me to go forward. Just it would restrain me from what I want to do or be a part of. And then, so that was enough for me. I was just like, I don't want to pledge any allegiances to any organizations or fraternal orders that will restrict me from being independent and sovereign in my own world,
Mhm. So, guys, we're about an hour in. Do you want to play on one of the videos, Corinne?
Sure. If anyone would like to take a short break, this video should be about 5 minutes long, so you can,
Okay,
run
great.
and do your things if you want to.
Thank you.
Let me pick the right one.
A Theater of the Damned.
Okay, so we're going to check this out. This is the Epstein files. And if Jordan Maxwell were with us, what would he be thinking? What would he be saying about the release of the Epstein files? And so I got my little friendly chat bot. I believe this one's Google Gemini, to talk to us all about it. And I'll take everyone off the stage just so if you do need to run and do something, you can. And we'll just chill out and listen to this for a few minutes.
Epstein Files. A Theater of the Damned. Scene. A dimly lit study. A man sits behind a desk covered in old law books and photocopies of symbols. He leans into the microphone, his voice gravelly and intense. Folks, you have to wake up. You see these headlines about the Epstein Files, and you think you're seeing justice. You think the truth is finally coming out. But you don't understand the game. You're watching a movie. This is theater. The word, file, comes from the Latin phylum, meaning a thread. They are leading you along a thread, like a bull with a ring in its nose. You're being led through a labyrinth that they built. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't just a man, he was an asset. He was a biological entity working for a corporate syndicate that you aren't even allowed to name. Do you know what a honey trap is? It's an old intelligence term. It's about leverage. This whole world is run on leverage. They don't care about morality. That's for you, the chattel, to worry about. They care about contracts. Look at the courts. When you walk into a courtroom to hear about these files, what do you see? You see a judge sitting behind a bench. In Latin, that's a bank. A bank. The judge is a banker. He's balancing the accounts. These files aren't about guilt or innocence in any way you understand it. It's about who is still useful to the system and who is being liquidated. The names in those files, the politicians, the royalty, the CEOs, they are all sovereigns in a world of maritime law. They operate on the high seas while you are drowning in the common law of the land. They are laughing at you because you think the law is there to protect you. The law is a business. It's the Uniform Commercial Code. Everything is a transaction. They show you a few names, they give you a few crumbs, and you think you've won. But look at the symbols. Look at the islands. These people have been doing this for thousands of years under different names and different flags. It's a worldwide web of control, and Epstein was just one spider. You need to understand, the state is a corporation. Your government is a corporation. And these files are just the annual report for a subsidiary that went bankrupt. They are closing out the books on Epstein so they can open a new account with someone else. Stop looking at the who and start looking at the how. How do they keep you enslaved? Through fear, through blackmail, and through your own ignorance of the words they use to bind you. If you don't wake up to the fact that you are living in a giant, corporate-owned theme park, you are going to be the next item on the menu. Think about it. Why this rant is Jordan Maxwell style.
Hello, we still have people taking a break, so we're just going to go ahead and go into our second video for this evening. See you real soon, kids. I hope you enjoy.
Heading for something awesome and something terrible that no English language can translate how bad it's going to be. The gods themselves can cause chaos that you don't even want to think about. You want to mess with them? Like the scripture says in Isaiah, God says, you love wars, you love violence. Oh, I'm going to give you a war then. Yeah. And so therefore, it looks like this divine spirit in the universe that men have called God, whatever it is basically saying right now to the earth, you love violence, you love wars, you love alcohol, you love fighting, you just love war. Well, I'm going to give you a war, son, and watch what's coming. Because what's coming in the book of Isaiah said your generals will wet on their knees at what I'm going to do. So you like wars? Yeah. Well, I hope you do, because you're going to have a hell of one coming. And you're going to find out what war is really all about when you finally face to face with the gods themselves. The gods are going to battle for the ownership of us. The Elohim, Anunnaki, they are still here. I am totally convinced that we are now seeing in the Middle East tohu vohu, terrible tribulation coming when the gods are going to battle. And consequently, when you understand that Saddam Hussein is Persian, Persia is Chaldean, Chaldean is Babylon. The Bible talks about how the gods of Babylon were to be cursed and they were evil, and that the good God was going to destroy Babylon. I think what we're seeing right now in Israel, America, England, is that the President of the United States has no control over anything. What's going on is there are very powerful, awesome creatures on this earth that look like men. They act like men, and they can eat with you, but they are not normal human beings. These people.
Jordan Maxwell speaking from heaven, March 22nd, 2026. Hello. Hello out there. This is Jordan Maxwell, broadcasting from the other side. Yeah, I'm up here in the big library in the sky, and I just got the download on everything that's been happening down below. They don't have CNN up here, but the truth still finds its way. And let me tell you, I'm shaking my head, but I'm not surprised. Not one bit. First, Charlie Kirk, assassinated, September 10th, 2025, at Utah Valley University. Single shot to the neck. Official story, some 22-year-old kid named Tyler Robinson acting alone. They charged him, they're pushing the death penalty, and they want you to close the book. But you and I both know, nothing in this world is that simple. Never has been. I'm watching Candace Owens right now. God bless that woman for not letting it go. She's digging. She's dropping texts. She's talking about Turning Point insiders, leaked messages about Israel, questions about whether this was really a lone gunman or a military-grade operation. She's right to keep pushing, because when a loud voice starts waking up the young people, really waking them up, the system doesn't just debate you, it removes you. That's how it's always worked. Look at the pattern. They don't need a conspiracy with 10 people in a room smoking cigars. They just need the right levers, symbolism, timing, legal fictions, and a patsy. Charlie was talking about the American comeback. He was getting too close to the real machinery, and suddenly, pop, one bullet, case closed, move along. I've seen this movie 1,000 times. Now,
While that's still bleeding in the news cycle, here comes the next act. Iran, full-blown war, and the Strait of Hormuz shut down. 20% of the world's oil, locked up tighter than a drum. Ships being attacked, insurance companies panicking, energy prices exploding, Asia in crisis. Trump's on Truth Social giving 48-hour ultimatums. Open the strait or we obliterate your power plants. Iran says, try it, we'll close it forever and black out the region. You see what this is? This is the old game of commerce and control playing out in real time. The Strait of Hormuz isn't just water, it's a maritime choke point, admiralty law. The same law that's been running the world since the British East India Company and the Vatican put their system in place. They control the sea, they control the trade, they control the energy, they control the people. Close the strait and you crash economies on purpose. Open it on their terms and you keep the fiction alive. It's all contract, all consent, all spelled out in the language they hope you never learn to read. And the timing? Right after Charlie gets taken out. Come on, these things are never coincidences. One voice silenced at home, one global artery squeezed overseas. Distraction on top of distraction, while the real power structure keeps rewriting the rules. Candace, if you're listening, keep going, sister. Don't let them bury this under lone gunmen and national security. The people need to see the strings. Charlie's death wasn't about left or right. It was about truth versus the machine. And that machine is the same one that's been using capitalization, birth certificates, admiralty courts, and hidden consent for centuries to turn living souls into corporate fictions. I'm telling you from up here where the veil is thin. The game is almost over. The spell is breaking. More and more people are waking up to the etymology, the symbolism, the occult overlays on everything they call law and government. Charlie knew some of it. Candace is sniffing it out. The Iran situation is showing the whole world who really controls the flow of energy and money. So to everyone down there listening to this at the memorial stream tomorrow, don't mourn. Get angry, get informed, study the words, study the law, study the symbols, because once you see it, they can never put the veil back on. This is Jordan Maxwell, signing off from the other side. Keep the light on. The truth is still winning. I'll be watching.
Charlie Kirk, assassinated. Candace Owens digging deep. Iran, Strait of Hormuz closed tight. The spell is breaking. The game is almost over.
I love
Okay,
it.
we're back.
Is Brian with us? Is Brian with us there?
Not yet. Not yet.
I love that video, Priestess, but if you could have just included the word consequently like 30 times, I would have completely believed it.
That is something that we probably should have done. I agree with that.
And consequently,
There's
I
more.
could hear it in his voice, though. I was
More
like, yeah, it's,
complex than simply calling someone bad.
definitely got the spirit of Jordan.
Yeah, here we go. This is the part that I thought we would all enjoy.
This whole idea of where man has come from, where he is right now, and ultimately where is he going to go with his knowledge and with his life and experiences. That's a very important feature of being alive, is to not just live for the material world today, but start asking serious questions about where were you before you were born, and where will you be after you leave here, this earth, and what is the reason for our human life, and why are we learning so many hard lessons the hard way. There seems to be some sort of an overshadowing presence in the universe that men have called God, or some sort of an ultimate spiritual presence that is leading or directing our evolution.
I loved it. So, guys, we're about an hour and 20 minutes in. I don't want to drag this out because we've already been on for half an hour before this. So we got about 10 minutes left. So I want to give everybody a chance to have some final remarks, and also to tell everybody in the chat and everybody who's watching on our socials where they can find you. because everybody in the chat, you should, if you came here through me, you should follow all three of these. These are brilliant people. So let's go clockwise. So we'll start Priestess.
Hello. So occultpriestess.com. We've seen it the whole show right there. Gosh, it's backwards, you know. I'm on X at Occult Priestess, and if you search me in search engines, Occult Priestess, one word, then all my stuff will pop up. And I love doing this every year. I'm very dedicated to it, and I hope that, well, kind of not, but in the future, when other people go upstairs, then maybe we can also make them, honoring them, another show or part of this show. And it was really awesome seeing Leo Zagami live today. And he came in before our show was live, but I'm sure you can go to his channel and see where he popped in and gave Jordan so much love in his wonderful Italian accent. It's so occultpriestess.com, professional psychic. If you have any struggles or need to know what's happening, go ahead and get a hold of me. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Fantastic. Kristan?
You're muted.
You're muted, my friend.
I didn't want to make too much noise. You can find me on Ground Zero Plus weekdays, Central Standard Time, noon till 2 p.m., broadcasting live. Also, anywhere the podcast, The Rundown Live, can be found. We just started a new YouTube channel. We've been banned for years, but it seems like the censorship era has kind of dwindled. We're on Rumble and a bunch of other platforms. I want to leave you guys real quick with this. It's a small paragraph, if you guys don't mind, out of Jordan Maxwell's book, That Old Time Religion. And it's the story of the religious foundation. And if it's okay, I'll be about a minute here. But essentially, this is Jordan writing and trying to help people understand the importances of the zodiac sign, which is something that Micah Dank does so well, you know, when he talks about sacred books. But so what Jordan has to say, he says, the sun enters each heavenly sign of the house of the zodiac in what is called the 30th degree and leaves at the 33rd degree. Thus, God's son is said by the ancients to begin his ministry at 30 and dies at 33. This is why the highest degree in Freemasonry is the 33rd degree, for no one can rise higher than God's son. When viewing the shimmering rays of sunlight on a body of water at dawn or sunset, one still can see today how God's son walks on water. It was well understood by ancient man that our weather was caused and controlled by the sun. It was simple fact that God's son had the power to control the storms at will. The ancient Egyptians taught that he did this as he rested in his heavenly boat while crossing the sky. Thus we read that God's son quieted the tempest, a great storm on the sea, while in his boat. When we stop to realize that every single king, prince, lord, governor, dictator, despotic ruler, civil and social institution, national flag, coat of arms, educational institution, military medal, award, organizational insignia, medallia, badge, emblem, citation, trophy, banner, pendant, political standard, or ensign, agency of government or religion uses the sun as the primary symbol, then it can truly be said that God's son is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And I'll leave you guys with that.
Truth?
I think Occult Priestess is muted.
Thank you. I just said Amen Ra.
Amen Ra. I want to, yeah. I just had Blavatsky's Isis Unveiled pulled up, and I love just going through. Way too much for me to understand, but the Jordanus Maximus name and quote, you know, it was rumored that that's where he got the name from. The Jordanus Maximus cosmic river of life that flowed from the heavens to earth through man.
Actually, the rumor is he was suggested that name. He didn't come up with it himself. Someone suggested it to him.
Maybe that's why he got mad when I asked him if he was a fan of Blavatsky.
I would get mad if you asked me if I was a fan of Blavatsky.
It's the word fan. Yeah, because he loves etymology, and he knows fan means fanatic. I'm not a fanatic of Blavatsky. I appreciate her work, and that's what I meant, Jordan. I didn't mean nothing bad. He gave me an ear beating that day. Yeah. But really quick, guys, my website is truthseeker.com, truth, SEEKAH.com. Me and my lovely wife host the Truth Seeker and Aaron podcast now. And we do podcasts and retreats and weekly hangouts and with Zoom meetings with our online community and Discord, all that cool stuff. So much available if they want to check out the website.
And your
And
music.
I'm Micah.
Oh, the music. Yeah, I always leave that off. Like everybody, I'm an esoteric, spiritual hip hop artist, and infused a lot of Jordan Maxwell's lectures and interviews and stuff like that throughout my work, and inspired by a lot of the concepts and stuff that he brought to the table. So all that's kind of in the work as well. So the song that we'll end
Truth
with,
actually name dropped me in one of his rap songs.
yeah,
So proud of that.
Is that on
Legendary.
Spotify?
Yeah, I'm on Spotify, Apple Music. Me and Micah did. Yeah, Micah reached out to me. Was like, "Truth, man, you got to give me a shout out one of your songs." And I'm like, "Man, how do I do it? How do I do it?" He's like, I mentioned you in my book. So a character was listening to my music in one of Jordan's book. I mean, Micah's books. I was like, well, I got to do it now. So let me find a creative way. So I found a way to like start one of my latest songs off with the first word in every of every rhyme spells out Micah Dank, and that's kind of hard to find. Like you would have to, maybe nobody would know, but it's in there. And then
No, that's badass.
Oh, we got Brian back.
but on the last bar, I said Micah Dank. I said his name. Yeah.
Brian, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Sorry,
We can't
I had to
see
leave
you.
from. Yeah, I had to leave from where I was at, so I'm in the car driving.
Okay, well, if you keep your video off, we got your audio coming in clean right now. We're just saying our goodbyes real quick. Now, I know you said you don't want recognition for anything, but if you wanted to talk to everybody who's watching this right now, who's in the chat, who's listening to us right now, how best to support Jordan through you, what would you ask them to do?
I mean, if you went to the Jordan Maxwell show and the Research Society and signed up, it's $5 a month for it. That always helps. It kind of keeps the lights on. I mean, it's really not a lot of money right now, but it helps keep it going. But shortly over the last year, we've been working on a pretty advanced AI website where it'll have all of Jordan's work, and I mean, there's like 30 terabytes of information that Jordan accumulated that we've been going through to be able to easily access through like a Jordan's avatar, right? So we're cloning his voice and himself, and you'll be able to talk to him as like your mentor and work through all of our archive of information soon. So once the website's built, then maybe that's when I'll.
I
Well,
understand.
we'll definitely have.
Will it be like-
That is an important first step in your process, and you'll need to wait until it's complete before moving on to the next stage. Is there anything else you would like assistance with?
Oh my God.
Yep, just like that.
All you need is a little max headroom, Jordan Maxwell, and you got me sold.
Yeah,
That
can
is
it,
so
be like,
impressive.
can it be like Clippy the paper? Can it be like Clippy the little paper clip from the old Microsoft Works? Because I would love that.
There, it all comes out like a genie out of a bottle type of thing.
Hey, Brian, quick
Exactly.
question for you. Where did Jordan Maxwell get his pen name? We've had some discussion on this, and I thought you might know the true etymology of how he came up with the name Jordan Maxwell to represent himself, or why.
Well, there was some psychics that were telling him that that's what he should be like, and this is a long, long time ago. But he kept seeing a pattern of different psychics telling him to do it. So, and then he just decided to do it. Yeah.
There we go. We got an
Fantastic.
answer.
Brian, do me a favor. You mentioned the two things that people could join up, but can you give the actual website?
Yeah, it's Jordan Maxwell Research.is. And then jordanmaxwellshow.com is an easier one to do. That one's free. It's got a lot of podcasts. Actually, the first podcast that he did, man, it had to be in like 2012, I think, 13. There's some really good ones in there, and those are free that you can go to. And then there's also the Jordan Maxwell Research tab button on the top of the Jordan Maxwell Show too. That'll bring you to it.
Well,
By the way, guys,
thank
we
you,
got another
Christoph.
answer real quick. We got another answer from Eric Freeman on the Anton LaVey, Aleister Crowley, which one of them said it. Neither of them said it, allegedly. And it was a complete fallacy, according to Eric Freeman. So whoever guessed that it was a hoax by
That's what
the
I said.
Christian
It's
community,
too perfect.
they're very, yeah, right. There you
It's
go.
like the movie. Yeah.
He might as well have been like, "My God, what have I done?" and then just died of a heart attack. Like, I mean, like it's like scripted Shakespeare.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
I knew that
Yeah,
was
but him
bullshit.
having
It's
swinger parties with the Bushes, I think that maybe I'd buy that story. So
right?
I think they tried to say that even about
Oh,
Ozzy
well.
recently too. Like it happens
Right?
to every occultist or person in with that mystique.
Mhm.
Well, I guess I had
Well,
hope
guys,
that
thank you for-
maybe he had a DMT experience right before he was about to die. His pineal gland.
Well, that's
started
what
to really
happens
flood
when
his
you're
body.
about to die.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Your
But I
brain
thought maybe
leaks
it started
DMT.
happening a little bit before, and then he just had this huge epiphany. Like, oh man, I had it all wrong.
I don't know. Maybe he
Instead,
thought
he
he was
said, "I
getting
should have been
72
there."
virgins. You never know.
Yeah, I'm sure he did have that experience, and I'm sure all of us are going to have that experience too.
Yep, it's
I
guaranteed.
thought I knew. Isn't that the thing you say when you're on psychedelics? If anybody's ever been, it's like I thought I knew, but I had no idea. I mean, how many
Yeah.
times have we
Right.
repeated that in different situations, scenarios throughout life? Especially talking about Jordan Maxwell.
That's right.
100%.
When I die, I'm gonna look up. When I die, I'm gonna look up and I'm gonna see Jordan, and he's gonna say, "Welcome home. We're going to Waffle House." And then that's gonna be it.
Did he really love Waffle House that much? I thought his thing was wings.
No, but I do. So I don't know.
Hey,
Well, guys,
I've
thank
got-
you all so much for being here. Kristan, I think we're gonna count you in for next year too.
we'll talk about it.
We're
Yeah,
gonna
thanks
count
for
you
inviting
in.
me,
We're gonna
guys.
count everybody in. Yeah, let's try and grow this in the most authentic and wholesome way. Because every year that we do this, I feel good for like 3 days afterwards.
That's
So,
awesome.
Thank
Yep.
you, everybody that listens to this, everybody that watched. And guys, have a wonderful day, okay? I'll talk to you guys all soon. Brian, thank you. Thank you, Truth. Thank you, Kristan, Priestess.
Good to meet you guys.
You guys were wonderful.
It was
And
nice
everybody,
meeting you guys all too.
take
Great
care.
meeting you.